I'm going to start recording here, and we are live. This is a first America's hangout slash kind of Stammtisch that we probably don't do it correctly as it should be done in the German style, but just a hangout to kind of give another part of the global community, such as the Americas and Asia, is a time to just hang out and talk about IOTA and Shimmer assembly and all the things developing. Today is January 4th, and we have Garrett Jin joining us to discuss what Tangle Pay team and Tangle Rally Dev has been building with the Multi-Party Computational Platform, which sounds super exciting. I'm really curious to hear about that. And so I'll ask some questions to Garrett, and then we can certainly open it up. And if anyone wants to jump in for a question or just a chat or create a topic, not a big deal. And Garrett, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time out for us.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Good. So I was really impressed with what I really liked was seeing the distribution of potential funds from this MPC system, and that you included the community treasury, which I think is awesome. That I hope is something that may take off, whether it's just simple people donating or people building, because ultimately it's the community treasury for the community, guided by the community, that can help grow the ecosystem. But it also gives tokens to the platforms, to validators. So let's why don't you give us your idea of what exactly the multi-party computation is and how it can support the Shimmer and IOTA ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll start with what this MPC platform, which is also called Secure Multi-Party Computation Platform. So basically, this MPC platform allows several parties to jointly compute a function over their inputs while keeping the inputs private. To make it simple, basically, it's normally the private key is shared between parties or held by a single party, which has potential risk. And however, with this MPC platform, basically because it applies this called threshold signature scheme, so basically no validators will keep the private key themselves. You can only generate part of private key in the process of the transaction and execute the transaction together with other validators. So basically it's more safe, and it enables multi-party decisions in a transparent and efficient way. So what can this platform be used? It's application and utilities. So currently I mentioned three of them, which is the first one will be the bridging. So this is very simple. It's we have heard some solutions coming up. Basically, for example, the wrapping process, which is for example, when we have this Shima EVM, and people keep asking what can we do with our IOTA? And of course, many people could keep their IOTA still in the ledger, but some of them will be interested into moving it into maybe a part of it into DeFi for potential higher yield. And yeah, maybe there is potential risk in the DeFi world, but however, there is yield return. So basically, it's a choice people could make. And so basically, this IOTA, how to move IOTA to Shima EVM in a safer way, that would be so basically with this MPC platform, the IOTA will be stored in this MPC platform securely. This totally decentralized way, which is also called trustless. So at the same time, the IOTA on Shima EVM will be issued and transferred to this original IOTA holder. And of course, he could redeem their original IOTA by giving up their IOTA on Shima EVM. So basically, this will be a process. But without this MPC platform, the IOTA will be stored in with maybe a private key held by a single person or a single entity, which creates potential risk. But with this MPC platform, so basically the validators will together run this platform, and not a single validator could move the fund away or anything like this. So basically, this is like how this would work. So basically, with this bridge, like IOTA will from the Tangle layer could be bridged to Shima EVM, if other chains afterwards. So IOTA can use to swap generate yield on Shima EVM. So this is the example of how the bridging could be. And of course, we believe like IOTA is a different ecosystem than others because we have multi-chains already within our ecosystem. We have Tangle layer of IOTA, we have Shima layer 1, we have Shima EVM, and we'll have assembly. So basically, I think this is important. Like we will have an internal solution also, like for focus on this bridging part. So this is the first utility, and the second one is like the Oracle. So the Oracle is like basically making centralized like prices like on the chain to make it more decentralized, which can be applied by different dApps. So for example, it's like there is a loan agreement, for example, which will be delivered by Deeper or Landex, for example, and of course they need a price source. Like a reliable price source of, like for example, we will need the Shima price. And how this Shima price comes is actually there will be like Shima price on DEX, of course. There will also be like Shima price on different centralized exchanges. So the best way is actually to make this price with some programmable method to make a more reliable pricing. So basically, more platform price will be put together and onto on chain. So this price is more reliable. If the price only come from DEXs, perhaps it can be manipulated easily. But if, for example, we could include like the price on Binance, or currently we are listed on Bitfinex, etc. So basically, still it will be like a better solution. And of course, this MPC platform can ensure that not a single validator could manipulate the price. So basically, if a normal like Oracle, maybe the owner of the Oracle could potentially, of course, maybe they won't because this is their Oracle, but however, there is potential risks that they could manipulate, right? But with this MPC platform, like it is not possible. Also, custody is a big thing. And so basically, like potential VCs and PEs, they want to manage their crypto aside. However, it's like with the traditional like blockchain solution, which is like a private key held by someone. And however, there's risk, even though there are like multi-sig methods, it's still like people, if they lost the private key, the fund lost forever, which sounds quite dangerous for many people in the real world. But with the MPC, actually, even I heard some of the wallet solution. Of course, we are still for Tangle Pay, we are still planning on this. But it's like some teams in the crypto world, they are trying to find a way, like if someone even lost their private key, but if they could prove their identity somehow to the validators of this MPC platform, they could still have their fund back. But before they register, of course, there will be something on smart contract, which is like some rules of this. So I think this is quite important for the mass adoption of the crypto, which will come in the coming years. So this is currently like the three things I thought about, and of course we could have different new things, because if we know like what it can do, actually we can have lots of new utilities to it. And actually this is a really hot topic. Recently I kind of feel, and I see more people talking about this in Asian communities in the recent month. So basically I think this is quite important and very interesting if we have a reliable MPC platform that is owned by the Alta community. So currently, yeah. So this is what it is. Yeah.
Quickly, the so I'm not a techie,
Yeah.
so
Me neither.
I might ask a few questions to help kind of
Yeah.
break it down for me on a easy to understand, and it sounds amazing, and I'm trying to get my head around it. So the MPC platform, is that work with EVM or smart contracts, or it's totally separate in a sense? And is that a layer one or a layer two kind of implementation?
Yeah, for this actually, because also like I asked a similar question to our dev team.
Uh-huh.
So basically, this is all like about coding. So first, it's not like centralized, like people could change it.
Right.
But of course, we could change some rules, but only with the consent agreed by the validators, for example, in the afterwards. However, so basically, to me, it sounds like more like similar to smart contract, and part of it will be executed on layer one. If, for example, if it's bridging IOTA to the Shima EVM, on the IOTA part, definitely I think it's something on the layer one. And the issuing of the token and the redeeming process definitely will happen on Shima EVM, which is layer two. So yeah, this is a kind of the what I understand. And definitely, if we are more interested in this, I think you could also send me specific question. I could go to ask our dev team and come back with a more exact answer. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so it sounds like the MPC platform, I mean, it basically is almost agnostic to the layer chain. It could be on layer one, it could be on layer two, depending on the application that it's used with, whether it's going to be token validation or simply layer one, whatever. Okay, interesting. And is this something like is it like, let's say without MPC, can EVM and smart contracts do this, or it's something that sort of is a weakness, or something that even if we have smart contracts and EVM, we're still lacking this sort of multi-party implementation?
Yeah, so let's say there are different solutions. For example, like the three utilities I mentioned, we can go through some of it. So the first one, like for example, the bridging part, without MPC, it is also possible to wrap IOTA onto Shima EVM. The only problem, like the main problem people concern is if the IOTA can be stored safely. So for example, if it's without MPC, basically what I can imagine is like, for example, a really trusted centralized entity. They say, okay, you can send me the IOTA, and I could even find some like regulated, maybe like custodied solution. Like one of the big one in Europe is like Fairblock. And so basically they say if you could send the IOTA into Fairblock's account, they will issue the IOTA on Shima EVM for you. So this sounds like a solution which is comparable with the MPC solution. For the MPC solution, basically, it's not custody to like Fairblock or any single person. So it will be like controlled by all the validators together. So without any intervention, it will just go as normal. So basically, someone deposit IOTA from the Tangle layer, they will get the IOTA on Shima EVM. Yeah, sorry. So I'm still recovering from this coughing still. Sorry. Yeah. So except like bridge. So I think for bridge there's some solutions. Also like for custody is similar, right? So basically people can only trust someone they could really trust, but still it's like what happened like to FTX or some things. Actually, I even didn't expect. I think like they are really trustworthy entities before something really happens. Also like DCG at the moment, I think it's horrifying. Like some team we really trust, but eventually broke because of the centralized solution itself. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, I think the MPC definitely is the trend. It's like the future. It's more like DeFi instead of like centralized finance.
No, I totally agree, and I keep wondering. I mean, after the FTX fall, and it's these centralized entities, just there's got to be something better than that. I mean, it's just it's too corrupt, and you know, people say, oh well, it's on chain. It's like, well, okay, it's on chain, but everyone looked at FTT on chain that was public, but all of a sudden, still because it's centralized, there was all these back doors and you know. All this activity going on that wasn't public, but having some sort of MPC where you have that trustless action. I mean, especially on the Oracle, you're right. Like, there's going to be so many DeFi platforms that need prices, and really Shimmer's only on what, Bit4X and some DeFi platforms, but the more platforms that application can tap into to get that average price, and then know that it's trusted and can't be construed by a bad actor, for sure is something that would definitely be a good thing. So curious, because I'm looking at your discourse kind of a governance kind of post, and it says controlled by the community and run by the community. Is it open source code? Would it be open source code?
It's definitely open source,
okay.
And actually we could release it very soon. Actually, we could now, but currently we are under like an audit.
Sure.
And so I think we will definitely, honestly, I think we will need more audit before it's put on the EVM to first utility, which is the bridge part, and also like the Oracle things. So basically, I think so maybe I can give some information about what is currently going and why I said this actually will be controlled and basically also owned by the community. So currently it's like basically the code is ready, so it's going audit, and actually we will definitely make it ready before the Shima EVM midnight, even though we don't know exactly when it will come. So perhaps like in a month or two, hopefully, And so basically, so also it's like why it is like owned by the community, and I think I can move on into the tougher question, which is the validator design. So basically, so validator, this part is also, it's like I come with the question, maybe we could get
Garrett, you're just
their solution. So basically, how this what matters. Basically, can you hear me?
Garrett.
So my kind of good.
Garrett, you just broke up a little bit there. You started to talk about the validator question, and then you kind of dropped out for a second. So could you please repeat that?
Definitely.
Thank you.
So so before that, let me change connection very fast.
Sure.
Just give me like 30 seconds.
Okay.
Just when he comes back, an interesting question that I have. So MPC is like a decentralized custody solution. And,
it can work like that.
Yeah, it provides bridging. So basically, if I wanted to, let's say, bridge Ethereum into the IOTA ecosystem, let's say I would send Ethereum into this decentralized custody solution, and then it would issue IOTA into the IOTA side, holding the Ethereum in this validator economy. Is that correct? So it would have pools of liquidity within this MPC. Is that correct?
Yes, so basically you mentioned Ethereum. So basically, it definitely supports that. So basically, instead of like IOTA, this MPC platform will hold. So basically, it will hold Ethereum, and so basically, the Ethereum will be like locked in this MPC address, and they will issue, for example, if we want this Ethereum to be on the Shima EVM, so basically the equivalent amount will be issued on the Shima EVM chain. And so basically,
So it'd be kind of like a
if
wrapped Ethereum, like a
you
WETH, but on Shimmer.
want to redeem it, you could
Sorry, you're breaking up.
also
Garrett.
like kind of like burn.
I think your connection's
breaking up?
still breaking up a little bit, Garrett. And I know Garrett had actually asked if we could do this in like a Google space meeting things, just because Discord is tough for his connection. And we thought we'd just give it a shot and kind of see how it goes. So, which Garrett, your connection was doing awesome for the first 20 minutes. It's too bad it didn't stay like that.
Oh, yes, that's.
Do you want to try maybe dropping out and coming back and seeing if maybe somehow it resets it at all?
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a interesting concept, especially if it's something that smart contracts and EVM couldn't necessarily do. Then, I mean, being able to bring like something like Ethereum in would be pretty cool, especially if it's going to be open sourced and kind of
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm back. It's better. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit better.
Oh.
Let's try that.
Oh,
See how it
great.
goes.
Yeah. So I'm basically talking about the validator part,
Okay.
which is actually really important, and I really need to gather the communities. Otherwise, like how should we proceed this?
Sure.
And also it shows like how this is owned by the community.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I mentioned like this MPC platform, and not a single validators kind of run it, because there will be different validators there. So how it exactly works is like, firstly, the validators really need to be trusted, because in the mechanism, there are two numbers. So one is the amount of validators, and the second will be like the threshold number to sign to execute a transaction. So one example to set these numbers can be like, for example, 6 to 4. So even if we only have 6 validators, like 4 validators need to sign together to make the transaction. This transaction is like a normal transaction, right? People want to, like I mentioned, we want to wrap IOTA onto Shima EVM. So each 6, which is like we require all the validators to sign, is because like the validators, if it's 6 to 6, this system might break, because if one validators become dysfunctional, the platform cannot run properly. And also like the validators need to help make some decisions. For example, if the community wants to increase the number of validators, right? If the validators, they have their own thinking, perhaps they don't want to increase number of validators because basically, for example, if they could share 20% or 30% of the revenue of the platform, the more validators there are, so basically they can't get as much potential income as they could be. But however, it's like the rule is like for the validator, it's like they have to be trusted and they will deliver what the community wants. So basically, if the community says we want to expand from 6 to 4 to 9 to 6, and so basically we would believe like at least 4 validators would carry things out fairly as they're supposed to be, because they are validators only because they deliver what the community wants. Yeah, so basically with this process, 6 to 4 will expand to 9 to 6. So why this is important? Because they have to be really trusted, because it is related to security. Because in a 6 to 4 or 9 to 6, like in a 9 to 6, let's say, those 6 validators, if let's say they are all really bad people, and so basically there will be problems if these 6 bad people go together and decide to do not good things. So basically it's similar to like a centralized solution. And so basically we have to really pick the validators really fair. And let's say if when the problem is that it's perhaps not getting better if we have a big amount of validators. Because big amount of validators, we need to know who the validators are. So if they are not known or trusted, it's still having the same problem. So basically, on this, I think we should start with 6 to 9 validators to start with, and also like how we can distribute these validators. Perhaps there will be like some teams in the ecosystem, also like some known, very well known individual like we believe we can trust. And also I think like, for example, the schema governance, we could hold like 1 even to 2 validators in the very beginning, or maybe affiliate of IF should take some responsibilities in this. So because simply we know like we could trust them, right? So so in this case, it's like the validators could be distributed more fairly. And this is very important because like there will be different people will say themselves as MPC platform. They are like their solution of bridging all things are totally decentralized because they have 20 or 50 validators. But the problem is like until we know who the 20 validators are and if we could trust them, actually before that they are still, I kind of feel they are kind of like centralized if they don't prove they're decentralized, because we don't know if the 20 or 50 validators is actually under control of one entity or individual. So basically I think this is that's why the validators is important, and we need to decide it carefully. This is the key. And in a longer run, if these validators are really good and can be trusted, and actually this is the valuable part of the MPC platform. If this MPC platform is trusted, maybe different other utilities could come to this because they think, oh, these validators are the well-trusted platform, etc. Yeah. So basically, I was thinking maybe for this also I want to ask, what do you guys think? So I kind of feel maybe we should decide like if we want 6 or we want 9 validators to start with, and maybe we have some idea what will be the process and to elect these validators, etc. So this is like my first question. Maybe we could come discuss it now a little bit.
Yeah.
Garrett, actually, hey JD, can I
take the floor? Jump in there.
Yep, I just got a question just in relation. It could be a good segue as you were asking for potential applications. Something that I've been challenged with is in regards to a reputation system. as validators, as you mentioned, for NPC, makes me think about the use of mana within nodes or for nodes. So is this something that NPC is in line with regarding validation? That's question number one. And number two is if it could be used within social media for a reputation system. Because if you could imagine having validators within a community that could add like a how would you call it, a social scoring, like it's being used in China, in the lines with it. So I'm just trying to think out loud, but NPC sounds like something that I would be actually inclined to look into.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And I think this is very interesting. And like it's more like to do with the credits or like the trust score system. It's like in the normal world we have like in the US there is like FICO score, and in China you have you have these kind of things. And one I think is a huge topic. Maybe we won't dive in very detailedly because I think that currently we need to solve the problems to choose several really can be trusted validators in the ecosystem to start with. However, in a longer run, is how to find the trustworthy this method is really huge. However, I think it needs time to develop. So for now, I think we can't really use develop a trust score system in the ecosystem before choosing some validators to start with. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree. I mean, I think, ultimately the end goal is having that decentralized reputation system. I think it would be awesome if we get there. And maybe MPC will help develop those ecosystem and implementations to get to that point. In the aspect of what do we have today to work with, before kind of Mana is involved and all the other systems, I think, yeah, I mean, I would have to say 6 to 9 seems like a good number. Is probably something that, if it goes to move forward, maybe the community, we can do some polls kind of on the community governance thing. I commend you for trying to involve the community. I think that's like an amazing action that, this is a non-IF but very protocol supportive implementation, and right off the bat going for, hey, here's this thing that the ecosystem needs, and but let's have the community make these decisions and involve them together, and let's do it together. Really just goes to show how far we've come, and not only such good technical development from your team, but also even the fact that we have discussions going on in the community where we have a place to go that we can kind of get the community consensus on voting. Now, I agree the trust of the validators is huge. I was trying to look, and I can't remember. It's not Tezos, but there was like, what was it, 2-3 years ago, there was some token that, because it was like 8, it wasn't even proof of stake. It was like they're going to use 8 people, and none of them supposedly knew each other, and then it was going to offer scalability, and they ended up colluding, and I can't remember the name of it, but so that trust is really key. Now, I think it always comes down to, I'd be interested in your idea. I mean, and I'll just straight say what my idea is, but there's always this like, well, everything should be anonymous in kind of blockchain technology, or you could go with, hey, these are KYC individuals, Now with the Shimmer Treasury, we are going to KYC the committee members. Some of those members are even going to sign NDAs. The top 3 that are voted into on the Shimmer growth. I would think that at least in the beginning stage, sort of the infancy stage, as the protocol starts to develop, as these sort of governance, community-run implementations, that those validators could be KYC'd, and maybe that would offer some more trust. Now, does their information need to be public? No, but at least for the Shimmer Treasury, those committee members are going to be KYC'd through a known organization that KYCs. They would hold the KYC information. Doesn't mean it's necessarily public, and no one necessarily wants to dox themselves. But I think just knowing, hey, these 6 or these 9 validators, we know them in the community, even if they're an anonymous profile, but maybe that, the Shimmer Treasury committee members that are KYC'd and under and non-disclosure agreements, they could say, yes, I confirm that these validators have KYC'd with our company, and that the Treasury uses, that the IF uses, and that they are known. So if for whatever reason they were found as a bad actor, not that any sort of legal action could be taken, but at least it's known. And maybe they sign an agreement to say, hey, if they're caught doing bad actions as a validator, then they agreed to be doxxed at that point, or something to I don't know. Do you think a validator should be KYC'd?
Actually, I think I definitely agree. We should do something to protect. So basically, this KYC process is definitely is. So basically, I think we should tell the difference is we should protect the crowd. Most of people in the IoT community, they don't have to involve any KYC process, right? But for the validators, if they want to take some accountabilities, they want to take some responsibilities, and also they have potential revenue. And so basically, I think the reason they KYC is because they need to make sure the fund of the public, the community is safe. So I think definitely I agree. KYC process definitely will increase the security level of this validator teams, right? Because in this way, I think we at least know who they are. Yeah.
And maybe
of course
Go ahead.
Yeah, please.
Well, I was going to say, and maybe down the road when we have some really good, on-chain reputation systems and mana integrations, then that would probably hold the trust of the community. But I think in the beginning, again, in that infancy stage, this MPC platform won't work if people don't use it. You want people to use it. You need to get it trust. Probably the quickest way to get trust is through, at least the validators being willing to KYC. And I mean, if you were to look at a risk of that, if you were to do a risk analysis on that, and you say, okay, a validator could be a bad actor. Well, what's one variable? I'm not saying all the variables, but just one variable that could mitigate that risk. If they sign a contract that says if they act as a bad actor, they will be doxxed, and then everyone then essentially affects their reputation, then versus, hey, I can be anonymous. There's really nothing in reputation, and if I act as a bad actor, then I just disappear, regardless if they're known in the ecosystem or not. Certainly the KYC aspect is going to offer more risk mitigation than not, and for the infancy stage, it seems like a good move. What about,
definitely,
I really agree with what you said about maybe having an IF member as one of the validators, having maybe someone from the Treasury committee being one of the validators, which they're going to be KYC, they're voted for the and then maybe once you have one IF member and maybe one governance committee member, then you can say, okay, we're going to use these 2 spots for these and for whatever reason, but then open a few spots up, let's say, 2 or 5, depending on how many total. And then, maybe the community can almost vote on who they'd like to be their validator, similar to kind of what we did with the committee members. What do you think of having a few positions
sounds
there?
good.
Yeah. And essentially then the community is saying, we trust these individuals to be our validators, and then maybe have a what kind of time frame do you think would be like do you think those validators should almost be voted delegated on a yearly basis, or a 6-month basis, or a quarterly basis?
So you mean will
your connection
elect, or do you mean get the last part?
Your connection is breaking up a little bit, but I'll read it. I'll say it again. Let's say the community picks 4 validators or let's say 5 validators, and then 4 validators are designated, maybe one from Tangle Pay, one from IF, one from Community Treasury, and one from who knows where. And so you've got 9 validators. Do those validators stay a validator forever? Or should the community sort of vote to extend those validators another year if those validators want to? Or should new validators come in and get an opportunity? So, you know what I mean?
I think it's definitely a very good idea. And technically, actually, this is actually, I think there are 2 things we need to, when we choose validators. First is we need to trust them really well, and secondly is they need to have some technical ability to set up this validator. So basically, also it's there will be things if they are offline often and to a certain level, actually they will need to be kicked out, because if more validators are offline often, this doesn't work well.
Right.
So basically, I think definitely the community will decide if we want to add new validators, and also it's we want to change some if their offline level is really high. Or of course, if they bad behave only one time, actually definitely it should be removed immediately.
It's almost like having a framework, validators need to be on 85% of the time, cannot do any bad actions, etc., etc. That was going to be my kind of follow-up questions, was what actions does a validator need to take? What are they running a node? Is it a smart contract node? Is it just a standard node? Or what kind of what you said, what are the technical requirements and the hardware requirements? Is this something that they could put on AWS, or should each validator have their validator application on a different either hardware system, so it's not all on one cloud system?
Got you. So for this, actually, I will need to discuss with our dev team. And so as far as I understand, it's similar. Basically, they will need to run a protocol on their server, and definitely AWS could be, let's say, ideally, of course, it's they could have it on different platforms, even if one go down, or also to solve risk. But for this, I need to confirm with our dev team to see if it's possible, because we know like centralized exchanges or all those things, they are like, I think 95% of them, they just use AWS.
Right.
So maybe perhaps it's a safer choice and easier solution for our validators, and if we'll need to evaluate the potential risk, and put it into the framework.
And if there's 9 validators, is it like a 2/3 agreement, sort of like kind of like what Kupla was, where they 2/3 have to all agree on the same thing, or is it actually 100% of the 9 validators?
I kind of think like 2/3 is like a really good number.
Okay.
And yeah.
So one may not be online, or maybe one has their
Yeah.
server on Hetzner and several others have it on AWS. Hetzner goes down, but then AWS is still going, so they can still process the transactions, kind of type deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What would, when we say like a bad actor as a validator or a validator acting as a bad actor, what does that mean necessarily? Like,
Actually, honestly, they can't really do this in the MPC unless they have. So basically, sorry. So basically, because as I mentioned, so basically, they don't have the private key in their hand. So basically, they can't even behave what we so-called badly, because they could input the right thing and the output is something different. However, it's like the threshold, as we just mentioned, like 2/3 of the validators need to put something, the right things, and so it will go through. And so of course, if these validators like always come with like different answer, and it's definitely something going wrong. And maybe it's their technical problem, but still it's an issue they need to solve. Otherwise, they can't really be qualified as a validator. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you really need that 2/3 to act as bad actors together, which is, again, if KYC'd and properly distributed, is highly, highly, highly unlikely.
And that's right. And also, perhaps let me I think the last question I didn't answer everything is like why I think this is like the community's MPC platform instead of what Tangle Pay build, and it's definitely not a Tangle Pay MPC platform. So the reason is like, first, like we just talk all about the validators. So we know like once this is on, Tangle Pay will no longer be able to change anything. So once this is delivered, so basically it's more like controlled and run by the community, all the executed by the validators. So this is like who can control this platform afterwards. So in this sense, this is definitely a community's platform.
Garrett, you're breaking up a little bit, but what I took
is
from
like who can benefits from this platform. So basically, normally it's like there will be potential revenue, for example, normally like some money monthly. It's still not good, right? The connection. Let me.
I think enough came in, because what you were saying was basically correct me if I'm wrong, that once Tangle Pay creates it and hands it over to the community, that they will no longer have the ability to sort of change the code. Can you expand on that? So if the community decides to update the code, like, I guess why,
they can.
where I'm assuming the code is like on GitHub or something, but why wouldn't the Tangle Pay dev team be able to change that on their own? What prevents them?
Because what's really running is what the validators are actually running. So basically, if we change anything, it doesn't change anything because the validators, they need to adopt what we change.
Essentially,
And so it's really become
validators
real.
would have to like fork the application.
Basically, that's the reason. And sorry, I think I missed the last part. You mentioned forked application.
I was just trying to make like a comparison. Like essentially, the once it goes live, and the validators accept that code and they're running it. For that code to change, all the validators would almost kind of like have to fork it. I mean, they're not forking it, but they'd have to agree, hey, this is new code base. We're going to agree to run this. Okay, interesting. Interesting.
And it's still like 6 of them out of 9. They need to run the new one to make it happen.
Is all this how can I say public in a way? So like let's say the Tangle Pay dev team in a sense, the community says, hey, let's update this, let's change from 6 validators to 9 validators, so the code changes. So now 2/3 have to run this new code. Can everyone see each validator and what code they're running and all that? Is all that going to be public?
I think this definitely should be really transparent on chain. And so what this will happen, I imagine, is like community wants to proceed something new, and Tangle Pay as a technical provider, we will make this update the new code. And so also this will be validated again by the community, maybe some team first, and also then once it's validated, it will go to the validators, and they will update the new codes and make the updates real from their side.
Okay, cool. Let's see.
And also I think it's
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yes. So just now, I think I almost going to cover like the potential revenue, because this is also important. Because so what I was suggesting is like 20% will go to the Shima treasury. So basically, there will be potential income when for oracles, also like the bridge, the wrapping and the unwrapping process. Normally there is a fees charging, and in the like regular like system, it's normally like 0.1% of the fee. And so when there's income, actually we want to say like how do we distribute the and so in this kind of sense, because I'm also potentially maybe if I got votes, I will become like the treasury committee, one of the treasury committee for the grant reviewer, right? Because we don't want the Shima treasure to be smaller and smaller,
right?
And in a longer run, of course, we want it to be like sustainable. And so basically 20% going to for other potential projects may do similar things.
No,
another like 30% will be still got lost.
I just bring it up, but
is this getting better?
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think, you know, I mean, even if you look at it as if the governance community decisions are taking place on discourse and through, you know, I mean, essentially, especially once we get the treasury, we can, you know, easily build a better, more on-chain voting system. You know, that was really always the idea from the beginning was, hey, let's get something basic that we can at a low cost to then get access to the treasury. Once we get access to the treasury, we then come back and get a better governance voting system. where we can actually get more developers and more on-chain integrations. And it makes sense in the sense that if there's an application using that basis for the governance, then why not support that treasury that replenishes it and offers more support and governance for future community applications like this. So I absolutely agree with it, and I would love to see more projects for the ecosystem built in this way that the individuals that developed it certainly get income. I mean, if you just get it and give it away, and then there's almost no incentive to actually build it. So here there's an incentive for the Tangle Pay team to build it, to manage it, but it's run and managed by the community, which is really cool for sure, 100%.
Yeah. So for the rest of percentage, it's like the 30% will go to validators, because they are important, as I mentioned. And also I was thinking like 20% going to the to the adopters. It's like, for example, this Oracle Bridge or different applications. Actually, if it's used by a community team, and we could actually give like 20% of the income back to this project, because it helps adoption. And I think it would be also helpful for it can be used better. And the 30% will go to currently it will go to Tangle Pay team, because of the we initially developed this, and we definitely will maintain and cover all the technical part when we keep running this. And also, like, even it doesn't have to go to Tangle Pay all the time. If, for example, in a longer run, for example, Sooniverse, they decide to build something on top of this, the new part definitely can go to like their Sooniverse team, let's say. Also like Shimasi, also if they want to join building. I think this is like how we can incentivize like the team in the community which has the development capacity and to join this process to build it better. Yeah. So
just to reiterate, I think that's a very important point, because I think, let's say Fudsters might look at this and go, oh, well, this is set up and it's really 30% going back to Tangle Pay, and maybe Tangle Pay builds a platform on it, so they're going to get part of that 20% and etc. But what you're saying is, if someone proposed to the community and the community voted to say, hey, for instance, I'm just taking an example here, but Shimmersea has really good devs. They could take up some of the dev work. Why don't we add them to that 30% pool, as long as they're being proactive and doing the development? Then this MPC platform is okay to that, because again, it's, as you stated, it's being run by the community. So if the community, if someone steps up and says, hey, we can also do the development too, let's kind of decentralize that and spread that out. And if the community supports that proposal, then Tangle Pay would be okay collaborating with that development and sharing that 30%, is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. I think
awesome.
Another way to make it more clear is like, for example, Shimasi developed something new. They could get the 30%, 100% to them for what they have built new. So this will be easier for different projects. So basically, it's like Tangle Pay add the bridge, and if Shimasi add Oracle, and definitely Shimasi will get the 30% revenue from Oracle, because this is what they built for the community, right? So I think in this case it's easier to separate what can be built by different teams. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. How is that? Would that be managed through smart contracts, or would it be some sort of centralized kind of accounting process to, okay, what was spent on this application and who created that application, etc.?
This is like a still. It's like, for example, there will be a proposal, like, for example, like Tangle, if this is what community decides, like Tangle Pay team will update the codes. People can check if the code is right. And once it's ready, it's like can be sent to validators. And once they proceed by the validators, and then the new profit share model will be applied.
Wow, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Let's does anyone have any questions in the group? This has been really interesting stuff, really cool stuff. Has anyone seen this kind of model in any other ecosystem at all?
Yeah, if I may expand on it, kind of like depending on individuals to perform this job, I guess at the beginning it's okay, but moving forward, are you looking into maybe automating it using an artificial intelligence or something else? Because honestly, to find validators to actually dedicate time to do this and to be dependent on a human being to accomplish this task, I just don't see it scaling it. So that's the reason why I'm asking if you're considering in the future to actually automate it by the use of machine learning or any type of technology that would actually expand it even more.
So basically, for if there's no new proposals, basically the protocol will run normally, and the validators doesn't need to do anything. When there are new proposals coming in, they will need to like involve to agree on things on the new proposals, etc. So currently, I don't see like it will be limited by their capacity. And so, but definitely, if we have so many proposals in the future, and when we expand really fast, we can definitely seek potential like solutions.
Nice.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's the reason why I was wondering about a reputation system, because if something is in place just by reputation only, the actual validation role can, I guess, randomly be selected for the individual if we decide to go to an individual to just agree or disagree. So basically take the role or not and just like keep moving randomly. But I was just wondering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice. Have you, out of just question, I mean, have you talked with anyone from the IF about this MPC system? As like, you know, sometimes developers start developing something and then like 8 months later, it turns out the IF's like, well, we've been working on this too. You know?
Yeah.
And it's almost like a bummer because sometimes these third parties or other entities, you know, it's almost a waste of time and it kind of, rather than working together, almost conflicts. So yeah, just curious about that.
Yeah. So for this, actually, I have I've talked to Philo and also like the touchpoint team, and for the technical part, because currently I think the engineer in the IF is having holidays. So basically they will come back very soon, and they will also involve in helping checking on the code, etc., and send us a feedback. And for the touchpoint, definitely they would support this, and like if this is needed for the marketing, etc., perspectives. And I don't think this is what IF has been building. And also, actually, the reason we think sorry,
it's okay.
The reason we want to build this MPC in the community is because I think in the long run, perhaps this can be a model and can be run, because currently like sometimes like we kind of community feel like IF is proceeding slowly on some technical part, And actually, I don't think so. And for the IF, actually, perhaps what they can do is that they can focus on something very important is like IOTA 2.0 and make something rest of it, and perhaps let the community projects to use their dev capacity and to build this. And so basically, I think that's for example, we want to try this. If this MPC model worked out, I think this is a very good idea. So basically, the IF will think perhaps in their roadmap they could put something which is not like really secure or really core to be developed by the community teams. It's like I mentioned, Shimasi and also like Sooniverse, etc. And I think this in the long run will make IF more efficient on the more important part. Also like the community, like you mentioned, in this way, it's like the devs in the app and also like in the community could work more seamlessly to be more efficient.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And again, the validator like kind of role and responsibility. I mean, yeah, I guess it's hard to get my head around. I mean, it's like they're running a server, so kind of similar to a node, and they can they can check in on it and make sure one, it's running, it's active, it's online, and if they're a good actor, essentially they're just checking that one, it's online, it's running, it's good, and they're not going in and trying to alter any of that data that this program is running, essentially. The bad actor may go in and try to alter the outputs, such as, let's just say, a Oracle, and say, no, shimmer price is, $900. But again, the other 80% of the validators are going to be good validators, and then they're just coming out and they're not altering the data. The program's essentially running. It's taking all those data points and then averaging out and saying, hey, here's the shimmer price. Is that kind of...
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think you are exactly talking about what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Could a validator...
Quick couple...
Sir? Yes, sir.
Sorry, guys. A couple questions. I came in late, but is there more information about the MPC that you were speaking about that we can find online or that you can provide?
Yeah.
And then what are the requirements for becoming a validator?
So for the MPC platform, I made a proposal in the governance forum, and I could share the link to you a little bit later after this meeting. And for the DeepSea shared it.
Yeah,
and so and for the validators, we have been talking about, and potentially we think we might have like nine validators to start with probably. And so the next part is like I will send out a proposal, maybe what we discussed. Maybe I kind of feel I definitely need to provide more explanations on the validators and how this work and what are the requirements and what are the responsibilities, and also some framework about how to apply, and kind of basically just now we talk about perhaps we will because the validators are super important, and in the very beginning maybe it's a wise idea, we don't have so many validators, so basically perhaps we will say, okay, maybe one validator is reserve the place for the Shima governance treasury, and another one for like IF affiliate, and another 7 of them will be chosen from the community, and people can just do votes or things, and to make it proceed. So this process, actually, we think if we could do it in the next 4 to 6 weeks, could be better. Of course, if we make it faster, it's even better. But we'll do it more thoughtful way. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think it's and I think it would be good to I think you're doing awesome, Garrett, of coming to the community and proposing the idea, getting some information, and when you have more specifics of, how the community does it, maybe it would be good to either create almost like a internal group in Discord to meet weekly to discuss some of these points. I could even bring it up. So our next governance meeting is January 10th, which is still a week away. I'd like to get moving now, but people are still on vacation. But we could talk about making like a side governance group that meets different times than when we meet for the Treasury, and really try to hone down some of these framework things of how the community's involved and, how do they want to decide. We could put a poll up and all of this could be done in phase 1, and then refine that proposal to go to phase 2. And we'll probably see some questions coming in asking about the code and some of the technical stuff, which then you can start getting some of the developers involved there. And then once it gets refined, it can basically go to a phase 2 proposal. And if that gets the support and votes, then hopefully by that time we can vote in Firefly Shimmer. And then boom, it goes live, So I think you're doing absolutely great on it. And we've talked about this too, like a year and a half ago, of can the Treasury essentially act as a validator? Can it run smart contract nodes? Can it, act as that trusted entity kind of in this aspect, and then support that ecosystem application? And I think this is perfect. I mean, this is exactly what kind of the vision was, and now has an opportunity to put it into execution. But I think having like what we found, at least in the governance, and it takes time, but the good thing is we've taken all the time to figure out the important stuff that you want to get like clear and clarified and written out, so rather than things get going and then people are like, oh, we forgot to think about that. How do we make this decision now? Like, the more decisions you can make at the beginning and kind of create the framework, yet let it still be adjusted, right? Like, if the community wants to adjust that, and even we put some stuff in the governance protocol to say like, hey, maybe we don't need to do a Firefly vote on every decision in the first 6 to 9 months. Like, let's just keep it to discourse. But after 6 to 9 months, then, hey, any major decision has to be, because sometimes you can only, you don't foresee anything until you're actually start executing it, right? Like, until it's actually live and in action. I think this is great. I mean, I think this is awesome. I haven't heard anyone talk about. Has anyone heard anyone talk about like what type of Oracle system could be built for Shimmer once EVM goes live and all that? I haven't heard anything. So if this could be that Oracle, it's definitely something that is needed. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Really necessary, really useful, very important.
I only wonder because from what I remember hearing as a non-techie is that Shimmer offers bridging, and where the bridges with blockchains can get hacked with Shimmer, because the bridge is connected to the L1, this offers more security. So I guess I can't, my non-techie head see, it seems like there's two options for bridging, and I can't separate the difference between the two, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I know the answer, but I kind of feel like there are two kinds of bridges. One is like the native one, which is actually between like the Shima layer 1 and the Shima layer 2, which is the EVM. This will be supported in Firefly and surely in the Tangle Pay afterwards. So they say this is like the native one, which is definitely unique comparing with other ecosystem. Yeah.
So and this bridging system with MPC, like we talked about earlier, potentially with Ethereum. So this MPC would actually be holding an Ethereum chain smart contract where the Ethereum is deposited and then issuing, let's say, W Ethereum as the wrapped Ethereum on the Shimmer chain. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is the process. Yeah.
Interesting. And all controlled, and then that smart contract on the Ethereum chain would all be controlled by the validators. It would essentially be like a kind of like a multi-sig, but it would be all the validators being the signatories there. Not one validator would ever have the private key.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, even in the system, like there is no private key generated before the transaction. There's for each transaction, there is like kind of like we can imagine there's a new private key coming out. And so, so this is even safer because there is no chance that the validators could lost their private key to other people. Yeah.
Okay. No, I like it. Will the audit be public once it gets completed?
Yeah, definitely. I think the first part, like Tangle Pay, we will fund one, and definitely. And if for the second part, if the Shima governance treasury decides to support this is their own project, like I think they could definitely support for another, like the second audit. Honestly, I think it's definitely worth it.
That's a great idea. I would support that as well, to have like a second set of eyes on it. Nice.
Just a quick question, if I may. The validators, they all hold individual keys, or is the keys all separated into the validators, or how are the keys actually held? It says that it generates part of the key, if I'm not wrong.
Actually, I asked my dev team the same question, and the dev lead told me actually, honestly, the private key, this is kind of like a virtual private key, which is come, and even it's generated, the validators itself doesn't know it. So this is why it is called like the computation platform. Maybe there's more information also if we could Google and check, and we will share it outside. So basically, there's no private key held by validators and before transaction. And basically, for each transaction it happens, basically the computation comes up with maybe a virtual private key, and the transaction is done. And then the private key, and for the new transaction, there's new private key coming out, generated and sent out. So in this case, it's safer because no one needs to really keep the private key.
Sorry, I was just digesting that.
Yeah.
So it's a virtual private key. So actually, but there must be an address, a receive address somewhere for IOTA or Ethereum, and that cannot. Is that generated virtually as well, or because I mean, obviously now we're starting to talk a bit more details, but I understand if you can't answer those questions. But if you can ask your dev team. Also, the other thing is, if you have an Ethereum address, you must have an Ethereum, private key. So how is that stored would be my concern, or how is the IOTA private key stored would be another concern. I think if you are able to bridge in this way, you can also create swaps quite easily, isn't it? So that's another use case for something like this, which you can charge a fee for.
Yeah, interesting. So I think I think you're right. Like I can't really give the answer with confidence, even though I have asked the same question from my dev team, and I think I should learn more. And so basically, that's I will come back to our group. So which group shall I share this information? Maybe the governance group, right? So basically, I will share first some more technical part information links. So for those of you who are interested to know more the technical part, and also I will send the second part will be like validators. So basically by tomorrow I will send like the framework and explanations about the validators. And so basically, if possible, you could also go through, and perhaps we could, if possible, it's like if the 10th of January is possible for us to discuss a little bit more, and we could check on the framework, etc. If it's okay, we confirmed. I could update it onto the Shima governance forum. So in this case, we could proceed to let community know more about what is validators and why they are important and how the process will be. Do you guys think it will work out?
Yeah, and I'll reach out to Philo as well and get his thoughts.
Great.
It's pretty good that I think that we recorded this too. I can send him the recording because I know on January 10th we have a lot of this. We have a lot of to talk about, but we maybe can talk about even adding another day governance for that for this too. And I'm just trying to think because the technical side of it usually like discourse research, but that's kind of more for IOTA 2.0, not really for kind of individual applications. But yeah, I'll be interested what Philo says. If it might be a good thing to put in the phase 1 discussion because it might bring more technical minded individuals into the governance area. It's not just about treasury, but now becoming more community development, which is great. The IF is amazing, but at some point we have to start doing development by the community. We can't just depend on the IF, forever. So this is a great, I think, initial initiative to start that process and learn what works and what doesn't work. So definitely, I'm going to add it to kind of the bullet points of what we can talk about on January 10th when we start getting governance meetings again. And for sure.
Great.
And then, if any technical links, Garrett, I would say maybe drop in the governance, the governance discussion under IOTA governance. And then we can filter that out to the discourse as well, maybe as a reply comment, and then throw it out to Twitter and try to get just more input on this. This is great.
That's great. Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, I got it as a bullet point, so we'll just. I'm really impressed. I really hope the community gets involved here, and we take over a little technical implementation, and this is a great first step to see what works and what doesn't work, and to build sort of that governance framework of such technical decisions versus more kind of financial treasury decisions. So this is perfect. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Right.
So we can move on from here.
All right, Garrett. When do you think Courteside's going to happen?
Is this a question for me?
I'm just joking. You don't have to answer that unless you want to. As a community member.
Yeah, I wish I could.
I just want to know when EVM is going to happen. That's all. But Oh man, no, you guys, Tangle Pay as really, you guys are really making some awesome stuff. Oh, on the validators, real quick.
Yeah.
Is a validator restricted to an individual person, or could it be, let's say, Blendex? Let's say IOTA bots. If the community said, "Hey, they've got a good dev team, they can certainly run their validator server." Like, does it have to be an individual, or could it also be a platform or a DApp team that acts as that validator?
I kind of I don't have anything against if it's a platform or an individual.
Okay.
And as long as you mentioned, if we have in this framework, we have to KYC someone.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make sure this is a right person or entity.
Mm-hmm.
And for this, actually, you are the pro,
Mm-hmm.
and to give some suggestions. Yeah, and I think the platform or the individual definitely could both kind of handle the validator work.
Nice. And I was talking with my DAO from Marshall Islands, and they actually do a KYB, B as a Bravo, know your business, where they'll go in and basically KYC all the major employees and let's say, the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, etc. And they get the major players in that organization, and then basically they KYC the business as itself, which is pretty interesting. So that could always be a option if the community said, hey, why not allow a team to kind of be a validator as an essence. But very cool. All right. Well, first group of the year. I don't know if we want to keep going. Does anyone else have any questions for Garrett? I know it's early there, so you probably got a lot of stuff to do today. We could cut it here, and like we said, we'll continue that on January 10th. I'll get the video up at some point.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I will share some information, more information in the governance channel. And if you have more questions, you please just at me, and I will jump in and answer it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Garrett. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tipsy.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good day, everyone, depending where you are.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thanks for joining.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.